I think a lot of people were really confused about the S9 when it was first announced because of the specs that it doesn't have as opposed to what it does have and what it can do. And now I'm in Corfu for a week, so I'm going to be telling you exactly where the S9 excels and who exactly it's aimed towards. So when I'm traveling with my cameras, the one thing I don't want to do is just be buried in my camera all of the time. And that's sort of how I feel when I bring up the S5 II, the S5 IIX, etc., because they're very big, very capable cameras. But I'm on holiday. I don't want to be looking at that sort of stuff. And this is really where I think the S9 comes into play, because it's one of those cameras where you can basically get the look that you want in camera using the real-time LUT function, and then you can just set it and forget it and just snap away without worrying about all of that other stuff. Another thing I really hate about going away and taking loads of photos and videos is coming back and then having to edit them after the fact. It's so time consuming, and when I've got client work that's also on the go as soon as I get back to, it just means that it just gets deferred and deferred and deferred, and then before I know it, it's been 4 months and no one's seen any of the images. And again, that is another massive benefit of the S9, because with the Lumix Lab app, I've been able to automatically transfer all of the images I've been taking in real time and then be sharing them on my Instagram stories literally on the same day that I'm taking them. And I'll put some examples up on the screen now. But I feel like a lot of people don't really see the power of this feature. And, you know, someone that has the S9, I can definitely see the benefit of it. So if you were looking for a travel camera where you can just share high quality images with literally zero editing very, very quickly, then I don't think it gets much better than the S9. You do, of course, have the MP4 like package or codec, if you like, and it's really, really good if you did want to just take the footage straight from your camera and send it to your phone without having to wait for ages for gigabytes of media to be sent over. The really nice thing too is you can basically shoot vlog still, get all that dynamic range, but you can put on your sort of Rec. 709 LUT. So for me, it would be the neutral LUT from Phantom LUTs, and then a sort of look LUT on top of that, and then you can share that very, very quickly. And again, I'll show you some examples now of some of the sort of reels I've been shooting while I've been out in Corfu, and this was with zero editing. I didn't do any color grading to this whatsoever. I just sent it to my phone, used a free phone app editing software sort of thing, CapCut, and I was able to create these reels very, very quickly that are so much better quality than what you could get with a phone or any other mobile device. And then a bonus, if you are using the same LUT for both photo and video, then your stories and your posts are going to look seamlessly lovely and nice and together, you know, and that's always a really nice thing. I think that consistency is a really nice thing to sort of strive for when you are in a specific location, because it almost gives the entire trip its own look. Now, when it comes to shooting video when I am abroad and it's not for paid work, the one thing I don't want to have to do is bring more gear. And if I didn't have a camera that didn't have excellent stabilization like the S9, then I have to pack a gimbal. And that is a very big and very cumbersome piece of gear to have with you when you are just trying to enjoy yourself. And that's probably my favorite feature of the S9 after the real-time LUT function and all that sort of good stuff I was just talking about, is how good the stabilization actually is. So you can see in this footage that I've got in and around Corfu Old Town, it all looks super stabilized using the E-stabilization mode as well as the general IBIS 2, but those two coupled up do a fantastic job of giving you super solid, super smooth video clips that don't look like you're basically drunk when you've taken them, even though I was probably drunk when I took them. A feature that got lost in the initial launch of the S9 was the hybrid zoom function, and it was brand new to the S9 actually, and it's really, really good for travel content. Right now I've got the 28-200, which is already a very nice focal range to work with when you are traveling around, but with a hybrid zoom mode, you can actually get past 600 millimeters by essentially digitally zooming in camera, and because it's a full frame sensor, we're still getting a lot of detail in that image. The Lumix S9 also has absolutely incredible battery life, and I didn't realize how good it actually was until I was out shooting in Corfu. Now, I brought 3 batteries out with me, but if I'm being honest with you guys, I was barely getting through a battery a day, and in some cases I was actually using the same battery over 2 days. So if you were looking for a camera that was really, really generous on your battery life, then you should be quite happy with the longevity of the S9. Of course, I want to be completely transparent about the fact that I'm not biased, and I do realize the shortfalls of a camera like this, especially for traveling. Not having an EVF has sort of annoyed me a little bit, especially because I've got polarized sunglasses, and it means that anytime I turn that screen and I have my sunglasses on, the screen just goes black because of the polarization, which is very annoying, especially when the sun is super bright. That being said though, I haven't missed a mechanical shutter, I haven't really felt the recording time limits affect me too much, so I definitely feel like there are some downsides, but they might not be as bad as you may think. Something that really has annoyed me recently with the camera community is everyone's always moaning about what a camera doesn't have instead of what it does have. I feel like now it's just become a battle of spec sheets. Now that any new release that comes out, if it doesn't shoot 8K 60p and RAW internally, and if it doesn't do this, then it's considered a bad camera or dead on release essentially. And I just think that's a really dumb way to look at camera tech. Ultimately, no camera is ever going to be perfect. There's always going to be various use cases for different, types of shooting, for example. I think the S9 definitely has a lot of shortcomings for some professional work, like the recording time limits and stuff. But again, this camera wasn't made for that. So I really think people need to stop moaning and crying about something when it's not actually its intended use case. Just in the same way that you wouldn't use an S9 for a portrait photography shoot because it doesn't have a hot shoe, therefore you can't put any on-camera triggers or flashes. It's almost the same as you wouldn't take a massive Canon R1 out with you on a family travel holiday because you don't need a bulky DSLR that can shoot 16 billion frames a second for everything. There's horses for courses, right? So you're basically choosing what works best for the given scenario. And the S9 is definitely what I'd pick up over the S5, the S5 IIX, and any other Lumix camera for this use case.